गुरुं भजति श्री कृष्णः श्री कृष्णं भजते गुरु सिद्धान्ततस्त्व भेदेऽपि कृपालुर्मे गुरुर्महान् रामं रत्नकिरीटकुण्डलयुतं केयूरहारान्वितं सीतालङ्कृतवामभागममलं सिंहासनस्थं विभुं सुग्रीवादिहरीश्वरैः सुरगणैः संसेव्यमानं सदा विश्वामित्र पराशरादि मुनिभिः संस्तूयमानं भजे नमः कमलना भाय नमः कमलमालिने नमः कमल पादाय नमस्ते कमलेक्षण यो ब्रह्माणं विदधाति पूर्वं यो वै वेदांश्च प्रहिणोति तस्मै तग्वंह देवमात्मबुद्धिप्रकाशं मुमुक्षुर्वै शरणमहं प्रपद्ये। Eternally devoted souls, now let's chant for a few minutes before I conclude the topic of the essence of the Geeta. राधे गोविंदा 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 राधे गोविंदा राधे गोविंदा 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 राधे गोविंदा राधे गोविंदा राधे गोविंदा राधे गोविंदा Govinda, 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 Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, 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 Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, 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 Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, 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 Radhe Govinda, 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 Radhe Govinda, 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 Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, 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 Radhe Govinda, 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 Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, 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 Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, 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 Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, 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 Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, 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 Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, 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 Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, 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 Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Krishna Bhagwan ki Jai. Jagadguru Shri Kripalu ji Maharaj ki Jai. Devotional listeners, I now request your full attention as I continue with and conclude the topic of the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. Yesterday I spoke about two methods that Bhagwan Shri Krishna recommends for all of us to use in daily life, through which we may think about Him. You'll remember the topics of grace and surrender. To know God, we must receive His grace, and to receive His grace, we must surrender wholeheartedly to Him. And to surrender to Him means to give Him our mind. So how do we give our mind to God? Regarding this, Bhagwan has said in the Gita, practice thinking of me. There are two practices. One is karma sannyas, the one we talked about yesterday. The other is karma yoga, the one we are going to talk about this evening. Karma sannyas sadhana means that we take some time out from our daily schedule and we renounce all worldly duties, obligations, responsibilities, and spend at least an hour every day, preferably early in the morning, thinking of God. When we try to think of God, we should take the help of sweet and devotional bhajans and kirtans, devotional songs and chants. They help us tremendously. I spoke about karma sannyas sadhana in great detail. Now let's talk about karma yoga sadhana. Many people erroneously think that once they have done their sadhana, their devotions for the day, for an hour or so, now there is no need to think of God. Now is the time to go into the world and think about the world. But consider the definition of a devotee. You see, we think we are devotees because we spend an hour or so with God every day. We try to think of Him. But the Bhagavad Mahapuran says this, Tribhuvana vibhava hetave pyakuntha smritiraji Tatma suradibhir vimrigyat na chalati bhagavat padara vindal lavani mishardhamapi yassa vaishnavagrya. This verse from the Bhagavad says, you are a devotee if you continuously think of God all day long. The stream of your mind is always flowing towards a river Ganga, which is God. So your thoughts are always going towards the lotus feet of the Lord. If you are doing this all day long, if your mind does not stop thinking of God for even a fraction of a moment, a nimish, blinking of an eye, then you are a devotee. Before that, you are an aspiring devotee. You want to be a devotee, you're trying to be a devotee. So it means that if we're going to give our mind to God, if we're going to surrender our mind to Shri Krishna, then we must not only employ karma sannyas sadhana, but also karma yoga sadhana. Lord Krishna says to Arjuna in the Gita, Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mamanusmara yudhyacha. O Parth, O Arjun, do your duty. You are a warrior, you're a kshatriya. So fight this lawful battle. But at the same time, think of me all the time, without a single moment's break. Sarveshu kaleshu mamanusmara. Think of me at all times, and at the same time, yudhyacha. Do your duty, fight the battle. Now, Lord Krishna has given this instruction to Arjun on the battlefield. So we should not think, oh, well, I am very busy, I can't do this. I have too many obligations, too many responsibilities. How can I do devotion at the same time? But you see, if this was impossible, then Lord Krishna would not have given this instruction to Arjun on the battlefield, no less. So that no one in the future could say, well, I don't have the time, I just can't do it. If Arjun can do karma yoga sadhana on the battlefield, then it means the rest of us can do it. And how do we do this? How can I do two things at the same time? How can I do my duty in the world and think of God? That just seems impossible. It seems impossible, but it is not. It's difficult in the beginning, but it certainly isn't impossible. You see, when we do something, when we are performing our duty, whenever we're doing anything worldly, then the involvement of our mind is necessary. Our mind has to be involved in the performance of that work or that action, that duty. Without our mind, we can't do anything. And I have pointed this to you earlier as well, that if the mind is absent, then the eyes cannot see, our ears cannot hear, our tongue cannot taste delicacies. Our sense organs cannot perform their functions if the mind is somewhere else. If our mind is distracted, we can't hear, we can't see, hear, taste anything, we can't touch anything and feel the touch or smell anything. Mind is the worker. The only worker we have is the mind. So our mind has to be involved in the performance of each and every work. However, our mind does not have to be attached to that action. In order to do something, our mind has to be involved but not attached. There's a big difference. Involvement is one thing, attachment is completely another. A simple example will illustrate this. There is a woman and she's married, she has a husband. Her husband had gone out of the city, out of the country, in fact, for a month. Now he's coming home, and this couple, they have a cook. And so she tells the cook, I'm not feeling so well, so and my husband is coming home, so I want you to make his favorite dishes. So she gives a whole list, big menu to the cook. And he looks at it and he thinks, really? So many things? So much food? How will I manage all this? Who do they think I am? I'm not a human? They work me like a dog. But outwardly he said, yes, madam. Anything you say. Well, he cooks the meal and it's an elaborate meal, and his employers, they enjoy the meal. He asks, how is the food? And the husband, he says, oh, it's magnificent, it's wonderful. Finger licking good, it's so good. And I've been missing this food. So now the following day, let me stay with this day. So the cook has cooked a meal and he goes home at night and his wife says, how was your day? And he starts to complain. She said, now I'll prepare your dinner. Have you eaten anything? He said, no, I'm too tired to eat anything. I'll just take a bath and I'll go to sleep. And he's not happy because he had to do so much extra work. Next day he calls in sick. So now the wife is cooking for her husband, and she cooks an elaborate meal as well. She cooks a lot of dishes. But despite having done all this work, and not only cooking, but also other work, she feels very, very happy. She is talking to her best friend on the phone and she says, I'm so happy and I'm so glad that I made this and this and this and this for him, all his favorite foods. He had some yesterday and the rest I'm making today. And so again, the husband eats the meal and he says, it's wonderful, it says so good, finger licking good. Same reaction. So outwardly it seems that the cook and the wife, they've both done the same work. Outwardly, it seems so. But their reactions show us that the cook, for him, it's a duty, and he has involved his mind in his work, but he's not attached to his employers. So it's not that he became so happy that I'm cooking for my boss. He has come back after a month and I'm so happy and he'll be so glad to eat all these dishes. He's not thinking any of that. He's thinking about his wife and his kids, and he's thinking, I'm gonna go home and I'm hoping I'll get home early enough to play with my kid and put him to sleep. He's thinking about his family. He's attached to his family, not to his employers. So he has done the work without attachment to the work, but the wife has done the same work. She has cooked a meal, she has set the table, she has done so much, not only with the involvement of her mind, but also with the attachment of her mind. So we have a choice to do our work with attachment to it or without attachment. We can do it with an attached mind or with a detached mind. But the involvement of the mind has to be there. So Shri Krishna is saying, go ahead, do your duty. I'm not telling you not to do your duty. Go ahead and fulfill your responsibilities in life, perform your duty, but do it with a detached mind. Reserve the attachment of your mind for me. Because in the Mahabharata, we read the words of Gandhari, who says, Tvameva mata cha pita tvameva bandhuscha sakha tvameva vidya dravinam tvameva sarvam mama deva deva. She addresses Shri Krishna and she says, my Lord, you are my only mother, my only father, my only brother, my only friend, my only wealth, my only knowledge. You are my one and only. God is our one and only. He is my one and only. So who am I? I am the soul. So who belongs to the soul? Not the world, but God, only God. So the only one who is ours is Shri Krishna. The only one who is ours is God. And so God says, recognize who is yours and focus your mind on the one who is truly yours, the one who is eternally yours. And this is why Shri Krishna says, do your duty, but keep your mind attached to me. We think it's impossible, but it is very possible. Countless people have done it already. And before I go on, may I ask you to not leave a gap and just come up. Thank you. Countless people have done this already. We have examples of even kings in our Hindu history. We read about kings and rajas and maharajas, such as King Janak, King Dashrath, King Vibhishan, King Prahlad, King Dhruv. They were running kingdoms, they were ruling kingdoms, but at the same time, their minds were focused only on God. While running a kingdom, while running his kingdom, King Janak was thinking only of God. While fighting the battle, King Dashrath was thinking only of God. So we have examples before us of those who have done Karma Yoga sadhana and they have managed to become devotees, true devotees, ones whose minds were always thinking about Shri Krishna, always, not sometimes. Our mind is sometimes thinking about God. Their mind was always thinking of him. So it means if one person can do something, it means that the rest of us can do it. We can do it. But all we need to do is to understand how to do it. Now, how do we practice this on a daily basis? So many times we hear the words, love God, become detached from the world. We learn so much. Always speak the truth. Don't hurt anyone's feelings. And don't hurt anyone deliberately, this and that. We hear so much. But as long as we don't know how to do it, we're confused. We think, well, okay, good. I will become a devotee, but I don't know how to become one. So how do I become a devotee? I don't know, just go ahead and become a devotee. Because you see, even I don't know how to become a devotee. So a lot of times we're getting lectures about becoming this, being this. Don't sweat the small stuff, and it's all small stuff. Okay, I want to not sweat the small stuff, but how do I not sweat the small stuff? How do I not do it? How do I take even big problems and think of them as being trivial? Oh, this is nothing. How do I become like that? We need to know the method. So Jagadguru Shri Kripalu Ji Maharaj, his philosophy is complete. He says, do this, and this is how you do it. This is the problem you'll have while doing it, and this is how you can solve the problem. It's a complete philosophy. The philosophy of divine love. So what Sri Maharaj Ji says is this. And it's so simple, but it's not known to many people. Most people don't know it because we've never really heard it. And yet when you hear it, you think, oh, that's so simple. And that's a sign of a true master. He takes a very complicated knowledge from scriptures and he makes it very easy to understand so that when we hear it, we think, why didn't I think of that? But we are not capable of thinking like that. It is the Guru who teaches us how to think like that. So what does Sri Maharaj Ji say regarding this? Karma Yoga Sadhana. He says, do it little by little. You're doing Karma Sannyas Sadhana, now you come out and you're going to face the world. Now here's what you do. You take the decision to think about God every hour for just a moment. Just a moment. Not longer than that, just a moment. So whether you are at home doing lots of work at home, or you are in your office, or wherever you're working, or you're in school, you're a student, wherever you happen to be, just decide that I will think about God every hour for one tiny moment. That's it. These days we have the technology that reminds us to do this. You can set an alarm for every hour. You can do it. So the most wonderful use of technology that I have found is that it can help you become more spiritual, more devotional. So you are going to think about God every hour. So now it's 8 o'clock, okay. And you visualize Sri Krishna. Visualize him. And he's sitting over here in front of me, or he's in the passenger seat, I'm going to work. He's sitting in the passenger seat. However you do it, just think of him for just a moment, that's it. And then you go ahead and do what you need to do. Until an hour later, then you again think of him. By this time, let's say you've reached your place of work. And now you have put him on a chair in front of you, or on the ceiling, or on a table, wherever you are in that room, you put him somewhere. Visualize him to be somewhere. And after an hour, think of him. He's sitting there. Visualize him. Oh, I had him sitting over here. He's still there. That's it. And then you keep on doing your work on your computer or wherever you are, teaching in the classroom or taking care of patients in the hospital or seeing your clients as a lawyer or whatever you're doing your household chores. Keep on doing your work. By the end of the day, your mind has gotten a little accustomed to thinking of God every hour on the hour for a tiny second, no more. This will take perhaps a few days, perhaps a few weeks, but the mind will become accustomed to this. And when the mind is very used to thinking of God every hour on the hour, then you reduce that time to every 45 minutes or every half hour. And when you become really good at that, then you reduce it to every 20 minutes and every 15 minutes, every 10 minutes, every 5 minutes, and ultimately every minute, and then every second. It's a process. It is a process. Many people think that there is some magic attached to it. That just one day when God graces me, then I will be able to think about Him. Or some guru will come along and he'll give me a mantra. He'll give me a mantra, and that by reciting that mantra, things will happen. Or I can pay some money to someone and I can purchase a spiritual experience. No, that's impossible. We cannot purchase a spiritual experience. We will have to work very diligently. It's hard work. And if someone says it's easy, then they're telling you a lie. It's not easy. If they say it's impossible, they're not right. But if they say, yes, it's possible, that's right. It does take hard work. Yes, it does take hard work. But we have worked hard in our lives, in so many ways. We can work hard on our spiritual growth as well. So, over a period of time, we are trying to train our mind to think about Bhagavan. Why is it that we are so accustomed to thinking about the world? The world comes into our mind so easily. Why? Because we have worked very hard at that. Over countless lifetimes, we've become so good at that it doesn't take any effort to think about the world. Even as we try to think about God, the world comes in. We all know that. That's because we've had a lot of practice. Now we've got to do the other kind of practice, the opposite practice. I'm going to think about God. So once an hour for a tiny moment, then once every 45 minutes, then once every 30 minutes, every half hour. Then gradually, the mind will be able to think each and every moment. My Gurudev gives a wonderful example of a monkey and its trainer. The monkey, as you know, is the most mischievous animal. It can't sit still. That's why we call it, if there's a little child and he or she can't sit, we say, hey, you little monkey. We don't mean any insult. We're saying you're mischievous like a monkey. It's a good thing a child does not take offense. Try calling an adult a monkey. A grown-up man or woman who is not able to sit still, and we say, you monkey. What? There could be a war right there. But a little child is simple, and so a monkey is the most mischievous animal. But a trainer can train that animal. And if you're of a certain age and you've lived in India, you have surely seen the monkey and the monkey trainer, and it's incredible. They put on a nice show. There's maybe two monkeys, and the one is a wife, the other is a husband, playing the role, and they're doing skits. And, you know, as little children, we didn't think, how is that possible? You just enjoy the show, and you clap after that, you throw a few coins, and that's it. But how in the world does this trainer train the monkey, the most mischievous animal? How did it get the monkey to sit still? That's the question. Well, the trainer is very clever. He takes a rope and ties the rope around the monkey's neck. The rope is 100 feet long. The monkey does not like to be tied up. The monkey is jumping around and moving from here to there, from there to here. And the monkey thinks, hold on, I want to go further, but every time it wants to go further, the rope chokes its neck, and so the monkey thinks, no, that's too painful, so I may as well just sit still over here. I may as well jump around in this area, restricted area. And after a few days, the trainer cuts down the length of the rope to 50 feet. And the monkey, every animal has intelligence, some more than others. And the monkey thinks, what's going on today? Up until yesterday, I was able to go much further. What's going on? But when it tries to go further than 50 feet, it has a choking sensation around the neck. So the monkey thinks, I'm not going to go further than this. I may as well just jump around this smaller area. And then eventually the rope is cut down to 20 feet only, and then 10 feet. And the monkey keeps on accepting it. Then 5 feet, and then just 1 foot of rope is left. And the monkey thinks, I don't have any place to jump around in, I may as well sit. The monkey sits quietly. That mischievous and very active monkey is sitting down quietly because it's been trained. Our mind is like a monkey. Remember yesterday I was telling you what Tulsidas Ji says? Our mind is like a monkey which is mischievous by nature, but that has hysteria, the disease of hysteria. So it's a hysterical monkey that has been stung by a scorpion and it has drunk alcohol. Our mind is like that. It's a monkey mind. And the monkey mind can be stilled, it can be tamed, just like the animal monkey is trained by its trainer. So it's a gradual process. There's no magic formula, there's no magic mantra, there's no magic in this, it's just good old hard work. But at the same time, true instruction from a genuine guru who puts it very plainly. Look, you've got to work hard, I'm working hard with you, you've also got to work hard, and you can get there. So Shri Krishna says, do your work, but keep your mind attached to me. So we can do this, we can manage to bring this about through daily practice, diligent practice, and consistency is very important. Consistency. You see, if we keep on doing actions, if we keep on performing actions, doing our duties without thinking of God, then karmana baddhyate jantuhu. Actions, they bind us, they tie us up. Because a good action will give us good results, bad actions will give us bad results. Punyena punya lokam nayati, papena papam ubhabhyameva manushya lokam. This verse from Prashnopanishad says, if you perform good actions, which are good according to the Vedas, then you'll go to punya actions, virtuous actions. Those virtuous actions, not just meaning that you help your neighbor and that you are kind and compassionate, not that kind of virtuous, but virtuous actions meaning actions that are recommended by the Vedas, and you are fulfilling those Vedic duties very religiously. Then you gain entrance to Swargalok, the celestial abode. And there's a lot of enjoyment there for a limited period of time. And if you perform sinful deeds, then the gates of hell are waiting for you. But hell is not forever and ever, just like your residence in Swargalok is for a limited time. Tavat pramodate swarge yavat punyam samapyate. As long as your virtuous actions are intact, you get to stay in Swargalok, and then you are thrown down to Mrityulok, this world, in various forms of life. In the same way, Naraklok, the hellish abode, the residence in hell is also for a limited time, and then we come out and then we are born in various different forms of life. Our scriptures say there are 8.4 million different forms of life. So we could be born in any one of them. To be born a human is a rare, rare privilege. It's a grace, the greatest grace of God. So if we are performing our actions with the world in mind, then our actions are going to tie us up. They're going to bring us back to this world. They're going to take us to Svargalok, or they're going to take us to Naraklok, hell. But if we are thinking of God while performing our actions, then those actions will not bind us. They won't tie us up, because the only action we are doing then is thinking of God. So then the act of cooking a meal for the family will become an act of devotion, because you're doing it with God in mind. The act of cleaning the house will be an act of devotion. The act of sleeping will become an act of devotion. I am going to sleep, my Lord, so that I may get some rest, and so that I may wake up in the morning, so that I may think of you, and so that I may serve you. Act of sleeping becomes an act of devotion. Act of walking, driving, reading, writing, whatever we are doing, all those actions become acts of devotion. If we learn the concept of Karma Yoga, and if we follow the principles of Karma Yoga sadhana. Otherwise, there is either punishment or reward, but we will stay in the abode of Maya. We will definitely just keep on coming back to this world, or we keep on going to Svargalok, keep on going to hell. And that's what we've been doing for countless lives. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani, jathare shayanam, iha sansare, khalu dustare, kripaya pare, pahi murare. Bhaj Govindam, Govindam Bhaj Mudhamate. We are born again and again. We face death again and again. We take birth again. We hang upside down in the womb of a mother. Again and again we've done this. How do we get away from the cycle of birth and death and rebirth? There's only one way. To surrender to God, by surrendering to God. Many people think that this is impossible for them because this means that they will have to give up their family, their business, all their wealth, all their belongings. Actually, that's not true. The greatest example that we have in Hindu history of those who were completely detached from the world and completely surrendered to God were a large group of women known as the gopis. They were the milk maidens of Vrindavan. And they were completely surrendered to Shri Krishna. Yadohane vahanane mathano pale papreng kheng khanarbha rudito ksanamarjanado gayanti chaina manurakta dhiyo shrukantyo dhanya brajastriya urukrama chittayana. Bhagavad Puran. These gopis, no matter what they were doing, whether they were pounding the rice or getting water from the Yamuna river for daily consumption, whether the gopi was cooking a meal for her family or pacifying her crying child or putting the child to sleep, no matter what she was doing, she was always thinking of her beloved Krishna. That's all she was doing. They are known and accepted as the greatest devotees. They're so great that even Creator Brahma desires the dust of their holy feet. The great ones, the great scholars like Uddhav, they want to touch the feet of the gopis. But these gopis were illiterate. Externally, they were illiterate women. But they had the greatest knowledge because they accepted God to be the beloved. And they performed all their actions while keeping Shri Krishna in mind. They involved the mind in the performance of their work. They did all the household chores. But they didn't attach their mind to their actions. So a typical gopi would take care of her child because it was a duty that God had given to her. She was doing that duty without attachment. She was internally detached from everyone, but being detached does not mean being cold-hearted. In fact, someone who is detached has love not only for a few people whom he or she considers to be their loved ones, their family members, but their love extends to the whole world. The entire world becomes recipient of his grace, of his love. He feels compassion not only for a few people. His heart melts not only for the nearest and dearest ones, but for him, the whole world is nearest and dearest. Because these are some misconceptions about being detached. No, I don't care whether you live or die, I'm detached. It's not like that. I have seen my Gurudev. He was completely detached, but he was the most loving personality, the most loving that I have ever met or I can ever hope to meet. His love was extraordinary. You could feel his love. You knew that he loved you selflessly, and he was detached. So the gopis are the most famous examples of those who were completely detached from the world. They were completely attached to Lord Krishna. Arjun, the one who is the listener in the Bhagavad Gita, when he slept, then each and every hair on his head, if you went close, then you could hear Govind, Govind, Govind. Saints tell us this, that from every pore of his body and from every strand of his hair would come the sound, Govind, Govind. He was calling out, every pore of his body, every strand of his hair was calling out to Shri Krishna. Arjun was so surrendered to Shri Krishna that during the battle of Mahabharat, one day Bhishma Pitama, who was famous for keeping his promises, he always fulfilled his promise. He took a terrible vow. He said, before sundown tomorrow, I will kill Arjun. And Arjun knew this. His brothers knew this. Everyone found out about this. Shri Krishna definitely knew this. So that night, Shri Krishna just could not sleep in his tent. He was tossing and turning. Remember, he was a chariot driver for Arjun. And that just attests to his humility, that the Lord of Lords has become a servant of his servant of his devotee. He's a chariot driver for Arjun. So he could not sleep. He was tossing and turning, and he thought, if I am so disturbed by this news, then I cannot imagine what Arjun must be thinking. I'm sure he's not able to sleep. So let me just go and see. So Shri Krishna walked on over to Arjun's tent. And when he was just outside the tent, he could hear snoring sounds coming from within. And he thought, Arjun is sleeping? He's sound asleep? How can that be? He went inside and Arjun was fast asleep. Shri Krishna shook Arjun and Arjun opened his eyes. And he said, Maharaj, my lord, you here at this time of the night? You're not sleeping? Shri Krishna said, how is it that you're sleeping? Don't you know the vow that Bhishma has taken? Arjun said, yes, I know. And you're not worried that you're going to be killed before sundown tomorrow? No. How is this? You're not afraid? You're not frightened? You're not concerned? And Arjun gave a wonderful answer. He said, my lord, seeing that you're so concerned for me, why should I be concerned? You are worried for me. You're so worried for me that you cannot sleep. Then why should I be worried? I put my life in your hands. So do what you will with me. If it is time for me to die, I will die. I will consider that to be your grace. If you decide that I should live, I will live. I will consider that to be your grace. Whatever you want for me will happen. So why should I worry? Surrendering fully to Shri Krishna. Whatever you give me, I will accept. Whether it's life or death, whether it's good health or ill health, whether it's name and fame or infamy, whether it is wealth that you give me or abject poverty, I will accept everything to be your grace. So Arjun, the gopis, and there are countless others who have surrendered fully to Shri Krishna. Through karma sannyas sadhana and karma yoga sadhana, they have reached the point of complete self-surrender. They have become true devotees in the sense that their minds were always thinking about Shri Krishna. You see, just as our mind does not have to be convinced to think about the world, their mind does not have to be convinced to think about Shri Krishna. Just as we can see God and see Him as a worldly person, they will see a worldly person and they'll be able to see God in him. Siya Ram Maya Sab Jag Jani, Karahu Pranam Jori Jug Pani. Saint Tulsidas writes in the Ramayana, I see Sita and Ram everywhere, so everywhere I go, I fold my hands in reverence and I do pranam. I bow down because I see everyone as having God in them. I see everyone, every creature, every human, everyone as having the presence of God within. So I bow my head, I fold my hands before everyone. That is a saint. That is a fully surrendered soul. So our aim in life, God gave us this human life, which is so rarely available. It is available, but it's very rare. It's one of the 8.4 million forms of life, but it is the rarest also. Durlabham manusham janma prarthyate tridashairapi. Durlabho manusho deho dehinam kshanabhanguraha. Manuj dehamimam bhuvi durlabham samadhigamya surairapi vanchitam. These three verses that I just recited have the same word in them, and that is durlabham. Durlabh means rare. The human form of life is extremely rare. It is given to us once in a while, and it is the biggest, the greatest grace of God. Kabahu kakari karuna naradehi det ishat binu hetu sanehi. God, who is causelessly merciful, gives to the most fortunate soul very rarely the greatest gift of a human body. We have received this greatest grace from God, and the task before us is truly formidable. To know God, to love God, to surrender fully to God, and to reach God. The Bhagavad Gita teaches us how to do it. Day by day, we must increase our devotion. On a daily basis, we must practice devotion. On a daily basis, we must employ the principles of devotion in daily life. Philosophy is just theory until we put it into practice. So Jagadguru Shri Kripalu Maharaj has given us in his amazing lectures the essence of not only the Bhagavad Gita, it's known about him that he never spoke on just one scripture. He spoke by topic, and he would bring all the scriptures in there. He would say the Vedas say this, the Upanishads say this, and the Purans, they say this Puran says this, that Puran says this, the Gita says this, Ramayana says this. In a typical lecture, he would quote 60, 70 times from different scriptures. So he never spoke on just one scripture, he spoke by topic. He has given us the gist of the Geeta, the essence of the Vedas, the essence of all the Vedic scriptures. So in this short series of talks, I've spoken about the essence of the Geeta. And this is the philosophy of Jagadguru Shri Kripalu Ji Maharaj. What I have learned from him, I have repeated before you for these 8 days. And after having said this much, there's so much more to say. But I will leave all that for another time. And in conclusion, I would like to say, I thank you all very much for giving me the opportunity to serve you. And I'm so happy to have given these talks for the very first time in Yugal Kunj. And I look forward, God willing and life permitting, I look forward to serving you more and more in the future. Boliye Vrindavan Bihari Lal ki Jai. Srimad Sadguru Sarkar ki Jai. Jai Jai Shri Radhe. Jai Jai Shri Radhe. Jai Jai Shri Radhe. बोलिए भगवद गीतोपनिषद की जय.